So let's go over some really simple exercises you can do to actually get some mobility and flexibility in the hips. The first one we'll go over is basically the single leg pull in or the hugging of the knee. Go ahead and bring that in, Mickey. Good. Now when you bring it in, what you want to do is actually bring it in a bit and then oscillate it, 4 or 5 times. Just kind of go into the end range there. And then after you do that, hold it for 20 seconds. Okay. Just a nice easy stretch then. Good. After you've held it for 20 seconds, make sure you do both sides. Even though you have one hip that's bothering you, make sure you actually do the exercise on both sides. So go ahead and take on the other side now. And again, just bringing in slight oscillations, just kind of the end range there, and then bringing it in and holding it for about 20 seconds normally. We're not going to hold it quite that long, but it's just a nice easy stretch. Now, after you do the single leg, I want you to do the double leg hugging. So bring both legs in and hold this in. Okay. You see a difference in the range of motion though?
Yeah, they're easier to bring in now.
Yeah. And it's interesting too because there's going to be some crossover. When you actually stretch one side out, you'll find the flexibility of the other side actually increases even before you stretch it. And again, we're going to hold this for about 20 seconds. The next exercise we're going to go over is hip flexion with internal and external rotation. So bring one knee in to hip flexion there. Put your hands around the knee, and then I'm going to get you to oscillate it back and forth in terms of internal and external rotation. Good. Do you really feel that in the hip joint?
Yes, I do.
Quite a bit. Now, you want to make sure you don't go too far in either direction, and you want to make sure that you go back and forth probably 10 to 20 times, somewhere in that vicinity. Does that feel like you're really getting in the hip?
Yeah.
Good. And again, make sure that you, after you finish one leg, do the other leg. And really a great exercise though. Can you notice any difference between left and right side?
This one doesn't want to go external.
Okay. All of us have restrictions in range of motion. And it's really interesting when you start doing these exercises. They're very, very simple, but almost immediately you would see a change in mobility. The next exercise I want to go over is the clamshell. This is a well-known exercise, but a lot of people really don't do it correctly. You want to make sure that you really stabilize the pelvis so you have no pelvic movement while you're doing it. And Mickey pointed out something earlier which is really good, making sure that you are keeping your heels together, because apparently a lot of people don't do that aspect correctly. Mickey, why don't you just show them exactly how to do it correctly? So you're keeping your heels together and you're only letting your feet go apart there, your toes and that. Good, excellent. Now you do about 10 to 15 repetitions on this, fairly slow and controlled, making sure you're not rocking the pelvis. And after you've done those repetitions, you want to turn on the other side and make sure you do both sides. This really is a great exercise. The next exercise is to increase internal rotation of the hip. It's a very simple one, and sometimes when you're going through this, you say, I'm not feeling a lot. But if you have a restriction in the hip or you have a problem there, you actually will feel this quite a bit. Okay, so on this one, Mickey, we're going to keep the knees together and you're going to raise the ankle up and down. Why don't you demonstrate that? Good. Back and forth, slow and controlled. Bring it right up again. Excellent. And again, we're going to repeat this approximately 10 to 15 times. On one side, then we're going to turn on the other side and do exactly the same thing. Now, you probably don't feel that very much.
Not really.
No. But trust me, for somebody who has a hip restriction, this is a great way to increase mobility. Excellent. This next exercise is great at increasing internal and external rotation. What we do on this exercise is just bring your leg up there, your knee up about 8 to 10 inches, and we want to make sure that we actually keep the knee in this position. So while we're doing this exercise, we're going to bring the leg down, and then we're going to bring the leg up, like so. Good. Already you can feel that, can't you?
Yeah.
Okay, go ahead and just go back and forth there and try to keep the knee in the same position. Heel up and heel down. This is a really good exercise for increasing range of motion. Now, while we're going through this, I just want to say, make sure you're not causing yourself a lot of pain while going through the exercise. You want to take it to internal and external rotation, but stay within your boundaries. Don't overextend your range of motion. I mean, even though you don't have any hip problems, I'm sure you're feeling this.
Yeah, it's burning.
Yeah. Again, 8 to 10 repetitions, somewhere in that vicinity, then go on the other side. This next exercise is also great for hip mobility, but it is a little bit more challenging. Again, we want to get some distance between the knees, about 8 to 10 inches, somewhere in that. Bring the leg back into extension this time. And now what we're going to do this time is actually have the leg so the heel goes down, It stays back, and then this comes back up here, okay? So why don't you go back and forth there, Mickey, and try to keep some stability in the pelvis there, yeah. Okay, are you feeling that quite a bit?
Yes.
Yes. This definitely works the hip joint. Again, you're going to do somewhere between 8 to 10, even 15 repetitions on one side, and then you're going to switch over to the other side. As I mentioned, this is a little bit more challenging, but a great one for getting mobility in there. Very good. So let's round off the exercises with a pelvic bridge or pelvic raise. Okay, Nikki, why don't you come on up here to kind of a neutral position here. Now, some key points here. You want to make sure that when you bring it up, you actually don't go too high, coming out so you're arching back. Make sure you're in a neutral position. And in terms of your feet, make sure your feet are either flat or you're on your heels. What you don't want to do is you don't want to go on the toes. As soon as you go on the toes, it's going to inactivate everything. And this is not going to help you at all. So feet down, bring your pelvis back down again. Good, now come up slowly. So kind of flat tabletop, and you want to hold this position for a count of 3. 1, 2, 3. Bring it back down nice and easy. Come back up again. Hold it again for a count of 3. 1, 2, 3. Back down. Now, you would repeat this probably 8 to 10 times. It's just a great way of basically rounding off the routine. Now, a lot of people would say, okay, how many times a day should I do these exercises? I would recommend you do these even up to about 3 times a day, and you'll find that your hip mobility increases substantially. Of course, we're going to make sure that we listen to our body, and we start getting really sore after doing the exercises, we're going to back off. But I'd like you to build up to about 3 times a day, and this is a great way to increase your flexibility and mobility of the hips.